Hey, Michael.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Sorry about that with the invitation. I've been having issues with that.
Yeah, no worries. Luckily, I went to your email and I found it. Or it's all good, buddy. All good. No worries. How are you today?
I'm all right. Just run down. It catches up with you.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. So
Definitely feel you.
yes. So is there anything? Now I'm gonna just keep it authentic. We'll jump right into this. Michael Unbroken, welcome to your transformation station.
Hey, man, it is my pleasure. Thank you for your time and for being here with me.
Excellent. No, I thank you. So you have a lot of history. I would love if you could illustrate everything that you've gone through while I sit here with an open mind. I got no questions in front of me. I'm right now, I resonate with your history. So I just wanted to be completely authentic as I could be for this conversation today.
Yeah, totally. So background, I grew up in Indianapolis. My mother was a drug addict and alcoholic. When I was 4 years old, she actually cut off my right index finger. And so,
What
that kind of
the
gives you
fuck?
framework and, people
What
that reaction
cut off
and
your
that
fucking
is
finger?
yeah, and that's very much that's a repeat of trauma, right? That's this generational trauma thing playing itself out again and again. And now I understand that. Obviously when I was a kid I didn't, right? Very different experience.
Wait, hold on. She cut off your finger
Yeah.
for what? To sell it to get some drugs? I don't understand what the fuck what happened.
I well, I don't understand either, so your guess is as good as mine. It's part of it's part of the human experience. I think unfortunately bad things happen to us. And trauma begets trauma, right? This is a continuation of a lot of bad things that I'm sure happened to her. Actually that I know happened to her. Unfortunately, whether it was an accident or on purpose or whatever the motive may have been, it happened. And I was 4 years old. So I don't have a recollection of that moment, that experience. And part of me is like I'm happy that I don't, right? I
Yes.
remember lots of stuff in my experience, but not that particularly. So, it's something that over the course of my life, I went back, I actually tried to get medical records. I guess it was probably about 5 years ago. I was like, what, let me get some medical records, let me dive into this. And they'd been expunged. So turns
Hmm.
out that most hospitals, like, again, I'm almost 40 years old, like they didn't digitize a lot of that
It's
stuff.
like
So
7 years they usually keep the records in like a
sure.
warehouse or something. You sound like you've been through a lot of therapy because one, the way you're looking back and reflecting on your childhood social upbringing, you look at it through your adult mindset, but you also understand how your younger self was viewing things, and now you're articulating how things are now, and be able to distinguish what you were thinking back then, but also what you are thinking now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if you want to create massive change in your life, you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to go through the healing process. You're going to have to go through the learning process. I think a big part of this is around education, right? Creating an understanding about the frameworks and kind of which the ramifications of traumatic experiences impact you. And I think far too often, and this was my experience for a long time, I sat with it. I played the victim role. I blamed other people. I said, this is your fault, this is their fault, whomever. And my life was a disaster at different periods of time. And so today, it's very different. And the reason why is from doing that work. And it wasn't just therapy. I think therapy is a great precursor,
Mm-hmm.
but also it can leave you short, right? I don't think therapy is about the tools to go to what's next. And so a big part of that for me was in personal development. It was in learning. It was in, going to the conferences, reading the books, and creating this gigantic transformation in my life
Sure.
by really just looking at life from the aspect of, I believe that we are all capable of, regardless of what we come from, living the life that we want to live. And
Okay, so
and that
what?
was a long
Let
time.
let me ask you this. All right, with age, is there a certain point in time that's around when you stop playing the victim card and you started understanding the impacts on your actions and on your thoughts, how that impacts you? Because everything is outside yourself. You're creating the trauma. You're creating all of that because you're holding on to it. When did that happen? When did that transition occur?
Yeah, you know, I think it was always kind of happening, right? Because if I go and look at it as at myself as a child, I was always trying just to get to be an adult. Like I remember the only thing I ever wanted to do as a kid, I was like, I just want to be a grown up. I
Yeah.
didn't want to be a firefighter or an astronaut. I didn't want that. I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to be a grown up because I was like, well, when I'm a grown up, nobody will tell me what to do, and I'll be able to live life how I want to live my life. And the thing that happened in that was by the time I was a grown up, yes, I was living my life, but through the wrong view, right? Perspective's everything. I was financially secure. I was working for a Fortune 10 company, but man, I was 350 pounds, smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, drinking myself to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not in alignment with the life that I wanted to have. So, I'm 26, 25, 26 years old, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, what is next? And I'll never forget this. I was laying in bed, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Again, I'm 350 pounds. I'm eating chocolate cake, smoking a joint, and watching the CrossFit games. And I'm just like, man, if that's not rock bottom, I don't know what is. And I went into the bathroom and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I just asked myself, like, what are you willing to do to have the life that you want to have? And the words no excuses, just results just really started reverberating in me. And that was really about stop negotiating with yourself. Stop making excuses for yourself. Stop getting in your own damn way. Because I was great at being a victim, right? I
Mm-hmm.
was great at blaming the world. And it's a lot more difficult. And this isn't about culpability. Like, let's keep it real. Like, I'm not sitting here saying it's my fault because I had a terrible childhood. But the choices and the decisions that I made, those were
Yes.
all ramification of those experiences. And I had to take
Agreed.
ownership
Agreed.
over them.
It led to
But I
you
also had
being
to acknowledge
overweight.
it.
It led to you being overweight. It led you to be sitting on your ass, smoking fucking weed, and doing watching TV. But what I feel like there's more to that story, like because when we look at change and actually how that occurs, if we really open that up, it is based off of usually an impact, an issue, something extreme that occurs in that moment that will realign you into a new direction. So, is there anything else in that story you haven't told me?
Yeah, well, look, of course, there's always more, right? I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about 26 years of experiences leading up to that moment. You're
Yes.
talking about the murder of my three childhood best friends. You're talking about my uncle being in prison for life. You're talking about me not graduating high school. You're talking about running the streets and getting high since I was 12 years old. I mean, it's an avalanche of things that lead up to change, I think. Like I don't know anyone who's had one singular experience in their life and everything changes. Like there's a lead up. There was all of the times that you drunk and drove that you didn't get caught, right? You know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And ultimately that's what it was. It was me, I was just tired of my own bullshit. I was just tired of my own bullshit.
There you go.
And I got in my own face and I was aggressive about it. I said, change, fucking do something about this.
There you go.
And look, even in that moment, that was still this um in that it was a process, and
Agreed.
that it was a journey. Even today, it still is, right? I'm 11 years into this, right? I've spoken around the world. I've got best-selling book. I got a top listened to podcast, blah, 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 all the shit. I'm
Yes.
always still doing the work, right? And
Of
that's the
course.
thing. Like, that's what I always try to teach people. Like, I don't know that you ever stop trying to become the person you want to be.
No.
So, it's baby steps every single day, man. I'm still learning. I'm still fucking up. I'm still impacting the world. Like it all
Hmm.
comes together. So it's
But are
just
you
about
sharing those
constant.
fuck ups? Are you sharing that out loud, not just with yourself, but with your peer group, everybody you
Oh,
come in
yeah.
contact? Are you embracing your vulnerabilities as your authentic self?
Yeah, of course. Look, I mean, here's the reality. Like, you can't be a leader if you won't talk about the truth. I mean, people, listen to my podcast, they read the books, the truth is there. It's this conversation right now. right? It's this is where it exists. This is where it lives. I tell people all the time, failure is my best friend. Like I fuck up all the
Agreed.
time because I
Yes.
use that information as data. And that's the reality, whether it's in running businesses or in coaching or writing or in podcast, like whatever I do, like
Yes.
I'm always just trying to be uncomfortable in it. Because when you're willing to be uncomfortable, you grow, you learn about
Good.
who you are. And the truth is there are a lot of people who just they show you the sunny side.
Hmm.
They don't talk about the pain, the anxiety, the
Yes.
heartbreaks, the failures in business and leadership. And
Hmm.
and I use those all as learning. They're tools, and I
Well, that's
share that.
fantastic because you're on your transformation station, and that's what we're going to talk about. So we're going to transition into a question that I just came into mind. How do you communicate with someone? Let's say you're a leader at a workplace, an environment. You have this trauma. You know everything about it. You can't stand the look at it, but you can understand it from a mile away. When you're trying to relate something to an employee or a peer, they have a different trauma because it's subjective, or they haven't experienced something not as deep as what you went through. How do you convey something that's authentic but can still inspire them?
Yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all having a human experience, right? And I'm not greater than or less than anyone. I look at everyone as a peer. I look at everyone as being on the same plane as me. And in that, one of the things that's been incredibly beneficial, because look, here's the truth. I've been leading teams since I was 18 years old. I had 52 people under me working in a fast food restaurant when I was a baby, basically. You know what I mean? And I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people under me
Sure.
up to today. And the number one thing, and I've learned, I've made every mistake. Let me be very clear about that in leadership and in business. But the one thing that I always try to do when I'm conveying and I'm having these conversations with people in the workplace is it's not about me. That's first and foremost. It's not about me
Sure.
because that's not my job as a leader. My job as a leader is to help our team complete the mission. And when you let your ego interject in that, and it's not that I don't have one, but when it's about being right as opposed to accomplishing the goal, you're going to lose every single time. Right. And so my thing is like, I want to empower people. If you work for me, you have to do personal development. You have to, it's a requirement, it's a prerequisite, right? You have to go through this process of learning, of growing, of understanding different concepts, of learning different tools, because the biggest thing that I ever want to do as a leader is I want to put you in a position to be successful in
Sure.
your life because
So then how
I'm
do
good.
you
I know how
manage
to
a
take care
team?
of me.
Yes. How do you manage a team? Tell me about that. That's what I want to know. If they everybody has a different issue. So what can
Hmm.
you do to tailor your understanding of trauma to deliver the most impactful leadership you can on your team? What can you do?
Yeah, I shut up and listen.
Tell me more than that.
No, that's literally it.
Sure.
People need to be heard. People need to be seen. They need to be felt and understood, and know that when they come to the table with something, even if it's something vulnerable. And I have employees that share stuff with me. They definitely don't share with their therapist. You know what I mean? And that's
Hmm.
fine. And I don't negate that from them. I just always remind them, hey, think about the context of what you're bringing into the work environment right now. Like, how does this serve you? What do you need from this? Is this impacting your life in a way that is negatively affecting your performance? Is it something where you need time off? Do you need a few days? Do you need us to help cover something for you? Like, what is going on? Right. And I sit there and I shut up and I listen. I can't solve problems if I don't have the details. And people are always so quick. And I think men in particular, we're always like, let's fix it, let's fix it. And I'm just like, tell me what's going on. Because I can't solve a problem if I don't have a full understanding of it.
When you said men in particular, are you referring to some sort of scientific study?
No, I think it's just, yeah. I mean, you hear it in passing common knowledge. Men natively, we want to fix things.
Hmm.
Is there a study? I'm sure there are studies on it. I have not read one.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you weren't pulling something, but agreed. I mean, naturally, I've read quite a few books of relationship books. I mean, men want to naturally fix things. Women want to be heard. Yes, agreed. But with organizational leadership, with millennial population being the majority today, they are now occupying management positions. What is one tip of advice that you could give them that will help them be themselves?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Look, here's what it starts with. When you walk into the interview, be you. Don't placate people. Don't bend who you are. Don't be anything other than you, because I'll tell you what's going to happen. This happens all the time, and people blame the work, they blame the boss, they blame the company, they blame the corporation about fit. They go, it's their fault I don't fit in. No, it's your fault, because you're a person who came into the interview off the bat and you placated who you are so that you could get employment. Whereas the reality is, if you were just you might have got the job anyway. Don't bend who you are to fit into a mold, because I promise you, on a long enough timeline, you're going to be miserable. That was me for a long time. I worked a corporate job, worked for a Fortune 10 company when I was 20 years old. I bent who I was. I hated it. I was miserable for 6 years, right?
There you
And
go.
and that's the
Yes.
number one thing I can tell people is, when you start to put yourself in this position of, I want to go in and make impact on the world. If you hate, like the people who hate Mondays, right? They're like, oh my God, the people who are working for the weekend. The reason why is because they're miserable, because from the jump, they put themselves in a position to not be successful.
There you go. Now this is authentic. I like that. I can just see the loathe in your face when you just for 6 years. It's that's I like that. That is real experience with understanding who you are. Now tell the audience what can they do in their downtime as an action item to bring transparency and being authentic.
Yeah, look, I think self-awareness is everything, right? If you
Sure.
don't know who you are, if you don't know your values, your mission, your vision, your north star, what it is that you want to do with your life, start there. Get clear, get a really foundational baseline understanding of what it is that you want to create in your life, why you want to create it, how you create it, and start moving towards it. If you're living life without values, this was me for a very long time. I remember the first time I heard somebody say the word values, I was like dumbfounded. I was like, what does that mean? Values?
Mhm.
And it's the old adage, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And so start thinking about what represents you as a human being. I walk into rooms and I ask people, raise your hand if you know your values, and 5%, 7% of them raise your hand, right? You got to get clear. You have to understand who you are, because that becomes a great system for filtering your decision making in your life, right? My values are honesty, kindness, leadership, self actualization, and no excuses. That's how I live my life. That doesn't mean I don't fucking falter. I'm a human being, of course I do, but I do my best to funnel my experience through that, and that in turn helps me understand the commitments that I make, helps me understand the goals that I'm moving towards, and helps me ultimately create the life that I want to have. And look, at the end of the day, like, I think this is the thing that people have to understand, probably more so than anything. If you're happy and you're content, great,
Mhm.
great. But if you're miserable and you're blaming the world, you got to do something about it. And it really starts with taking a hard look at your life and what you're doing.
Exactly. Look in the fucking mirror and then bash your face into it because one, you don't like what you fucking see. You have to fix yourself by starting from within, purging it, and then transforming your outside. Now let me ask you this, okay? I like your values. Great. When you're trying to convey yourself, you have emotion behind your words. You and I are very similar. I like that. How can you convey your message through an email, through a text?
Um, it's contextual first and
Yes, it
foremost.
is.
I think it's really important to have real conversations. Face to face is optimal, right? If not, video is better.
Yeah, we're in a
Um,
virtual
I,
world, so it's difficult now.
Yeah, we are, and we're gonna go in the metaverse here soon too. So we'll see what happens there. But ultimately, I think a lot gets lost in translation. A lot of a lot of the bigger mistakes I've made in my life were text messages,
Agreed.
right? Text
Agreed.
messages I shouldn't have sent, right? Phone calls that should have been had. And there's a part of that where you go, whatever. But the other part of it, I think, is, if you want someone to understand your message, great example. I'll give you a perfect example of this. A
Thank
couple
you.
months ago, I posted something on Instagram, and I got thousands and thousands of people there, and they were mad at me because of the context in which I posted. What I was trying to convey did not come through in the words. Miscommunication,
Yes.
right? And that made me sit and pause and realize and go, wait a second. If I'm going to write something, even though I believe it to be of a certain way, is that actually conveyed in the way that other people are interpreting it? Because miscommunication, I think, is ultimately one of the worst things that happens in any aspect of life. You're like,
Hmm.
no, I was thinking about it this way, but you misinterpreted it that way. Whose fault is that? That's my fault, right? And so that really made me step back and go, how am I using my words? Words have power. Make sure that you're paying attention to the way that you put words into the world. Because for me, I can say, stop being fucking lazy, get off your ass, take care of yourself, do the hard work. And
Hmm.
somebody else hears that and they feel inundated.
Hmm.
They go, oh my God, the guy's attacking me. Nothing I ever post, like honestly, like no bullshit, nothing I ever post is anything I would not say to myself. Nothing I ever write about, nothing I ever talk about, nothing I ever podcast about is anything less than what I would say to me first.
Agreed.
But I
Agreed.
understand that other people do not understand that. And we live in a cancel culture, like obviously, right? And like I don't think you get canceled unless you choose to be. And I certainly am not saying that that's in store for me, but you can hurt people's feelings. Like
So let's go into
that's
this.
true.
Yes. Perception. All right. You know you're right. You know it because you lived it, breathed it, and understand it. But there is always two sides to a story. There's tact on delivering a message. What tact did you use to correct yourself from that hiccup? And what is something that you can convey to our listeners to start implementing using the the message or the action item that you did to correct yourself?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in that moment is I just looked at it and I asked myself this question. If I was in a position where I was 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 20 years ago, and I read this, how would I have felt about it? Because ultimately what I am about, I'm about service. I'm about bringing value to people's life, about teaching them what I've learned, what I understand, what I've overcome in a way that it's practical for them to take it with them and influence and create massive change and transformation in their life. And so I looked at that and I said, that's not the way to do it. Talking at someone and talking to someone are not the same thing. And so I had to take a step back and I said, you know what? Course correct. When I filter things through posting, now I'm going to sleep on it. Because guess what? I fuck up too. And so now I'm going to sleep on it. I'm going to come back. I'm going to look at it tomorrow and I'm going to go, is this still the way that I believe that this needs to be conveyed? If yes, I'm putting it into the world. If no, let me course correct and rewrite it. Let me republish it. Let me go back through this due diligence of making sure that it's insightful and empowering and not necessarily motivational. I think motivation is like, whatever. But
Yeah.
can it get, is there a tool in there? Is there something tangible that someone can take from what I just said? And if there's not, then I need to think about what I'm doing. And that's the thing. Like we're quick as human beings. I believe this. We're kind of just quick to go with our first reaction. We are reactive. And so one of the things I'm trying to be better at is being proactive, even in my own life,
Sure.
my own business. Having anticipation of what is to come, I think is really interesting to me right now. And I'm like, how can I anticipate, 4 moves ahead on the chessboard?
Mm. Okay. So what you're describing is critical reasoning.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, also it's really about having the emotional wherewithal to recognize whether or not you are impacting people negatively,
Hmm.
even though you may or may not be right. That's regardless. Are you Like are you negatively impacting people?
Well, that depends now. What if they don't like who you are? What if they don't like your
I don't,
tonality?
yeah, like I don't care if you don't like me. That's the truth. I don't care. What is it? What does that have to do with me? You not liking me has no, that's your problem. That is not my problem. But in that also, like I am about being of service. Am I being of service? Because if you're negatively impacting the people who look to you for guidance, you are not. And that was where I got caught. Just looking at it and going, wait a second, hold on, wait, pause. I understand what I'm trying to convey, but they don't.
Can you say that again, please? Say that one more time.
Yes, I understand what I'm trying to convey, but they don't, the people consuming it. So that means that it's misinterpreted, which means it's a miscommunication, which means into the wrong pair of eyes or right pair of eyes, like it goes a certain direction. And so I had to take a step back from that. And that's where this whole practical aspect of thinking about it's to look before you leap effectively, right? And
Mm-hmm.
knowing that as a person in a leadership role and as a person trying to create massive change in the world, like are the words that I'm using being used in a way that people are actually understanding that are impactful? Impact can be positive and negative. And of course,
Yes.
there's always going to be people who don't like me. I had a person write on Amazon, they destroyed my book. My book has all 5-star reviews except this one, and they destroyed it. And I go, you know what? That person's not for me. That's okay. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not for them. That's okay. I hope they find who they're supposed to find.
I like that. No, that's really good. So let's look at this next coming generation. What is some advice you could give them to start stepping out of their comfort zone? I mean, we had it lucky for being millennials. We got to experience everything. A lot of people will disagree and say we've experienced quite a shit ton, but you know what? I'm going to be optimistic about it. But what advice could you give the next generation so that they can be prepared to take on the torch when it's their turn?
Yeah, I think now is the greatest time in human history to be alive. Like
Fuck
I
yeah, it is.
know, I know, like there's darkness in the world, but there's always been darkness in the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's never gone away. That said, there's more media influence on the way we think than ever before. And so you got to understand that there's a
Agreed.
filter being cast in front of you about the way you should interpret the world. Because I'll tell you right now, I've traveled the world. I've lived in multiple countries. I've spoken all over the place. I'm just a kid from the hood who wasn't supposed to make it out. And I know this people are good. People are good. And so there are there are going to be people that judge you. There are going to be people that shame you, people that guilt you. They're going to do it regardless of whether or not you're living life on your terms. So you might as well live life on
Yeah.
your terms.
Yes.
People don't like me. Okay. And, and, right? Stop being, it's fear, right? People are caught
Yes.
up in fear. We're so worried about judgment and shame. But look, here's the thing that's fear. And if you don't step through that fear, if you don't face that fear, nothing in your life will be different. Nothing in your life will be different. And you'll always be in this position where you're just like, well, I guess this is who I am. Even though I really want to go over here and be this person, like this is not to be crass. The Michael having this conversation with you right now is a creation. I built this person from scratch,
Fuck yeah.
regardless of the fact that people don't fucking like me.
I like that. That's what we have to view ourselves as. When people give me that look like I look like an asshole, no, this is the fucking military. I'm a machine. I'm ready for anything. Are you? What have you been doing in your downtime?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, life is all about the decisions that we make. And if you choose, this is where it gets fucked up and people get caught. If you choose to be indecisive and nonchalant about your future, you don't get a complaint.
I like that.
You don't get a complaint. And that is a hard pill to swallow because that means that you have to do something difficult and take responsibility for your life. Because look, there's no Disney moment. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody cares either. And that's not to be an asshole. I promise. It's just the reality of the world. And we sit here waiting for fucking Prince or Princess Charming to come and save us and take us and sweep us away to what's next in our life. They're not coming. You've got to be the hero of your own story. You've got to be willing to face all of the darkness, to cross the thresholds into the unknown, to look at it from this perspective and understanding that at the end of the day, you're going to die, right? Period. That is
Mm-hmm.
the worst case scenario.
Yes.
It doesn't actually get worse than that. Death is the end. And I don't know about you, but when I die, I don't have any fucking regrets. And that's how I try to live my life every day. Be uncomfortable, do difficult things, challenge the narrative that you have about who it is that you're capable of being. Like, to an extent, like, I really truly believe like you can do anything in your life, but I can't believe in you for you. And if you don't believe in yourself, who will?
Exactly. Now, when you started to craft this new Michael, the Michael Unbroken, you like how I said that? It was very,
Yeah,
it
go.
was elegant.
Was crushed it.
What was the difficult part when you started to negotiate this character when you came in contact with people you've known in your past as you were changing your identity?
Man, that is the question, right? Like, that's phenomenal. Look, here's the reality. And one of my mentors taught me this, and it really rings true. Like, to get what you want in life, you're gonna have to give something up. You're gonna have to.
There you go.
And a lot of times it's the people. And that's not to say those people don't bring value to you. That's not to say you don't love those people or cherish those people. But if you want to change the world, you're not going to do it at happy. You know what I'm saying? Like the truth about it is, I distinctly remember these pivotal turning points in my life of, I'm going to go into sobriety. I'm going to go into celibacy. I'm going to stop going to the club on Friday nights. I'm going to stop being party guy, and I just watched people dwindle away. I just watched it.
Mm-hmm.
It was this shifting. It was a changing of the tide where even people, dude, the people I thought were my best friends, right?
They
My
weren't.
best friends are not those people any longer. Why? Because people are terrified of the idea of change. You
Yes.
break the status quo when you say, this is no longer who I am. And Jay-Z has one of my favorite quotes of all time. People around you saying that you changed. Well, I didn't do all this work to stay the same. And that's how I think about it every single day. I didn't do all this shit. I didn't go through hell and back to be the person I was 8 years ago, 12 years ago, 3 days ago. Right. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be different. I want to be evolving. I want to be better. Right. And so those people, look, and this is a hard reality. Like, this is the real hard pill to swallow. Like, your mom might be the person in your way right now. And that's truth.
Yes.
And that's truth, right? And in that truth, you have to come to the understanding that if you want what's on the other side, you're going to have to make a hard decision. One of the hardest things I've ever, and I'm not preaching from a pulpit here. I lived this. At 14 years old, I put a restraining order on my mother. 14, I did that.
Fuck yes.
At 18, I told her, I'm never going to talk to you again. And until the day she died, I really only talked to her once or twice. I promise you this, I would not be having this conversation with you right now had I not made that choice. It is the hardest decision I've ever made in my life, period.
I
But it
believe that.
had to be done because look, we have the ability, it's anticipation. I looked at it and I said, I know exactly what the fuck's up that road.
Mm-hmm.
I've been down that road before. I'm done going down that road.
Yes.
And it's, to this day, it ain't easy. But the choices, the decisions that change our life, they're never easy. I've never made an easy decision in my life that changed it in a dramatically powerful way. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to decide. And I'm not saying like, never talk to your mom again like that. There's a lot in that,
Yes.
right? There's a lot in that. But what I am saying is you need to take inventory about the people that you're engaged with, that you're spending your time with, that you're committing your energy to, because some of them are not, most of them are not reciprocating it. And a lot of them secretly want you to fail. And
Yes.
that's a
That's a
fucked
fucking.
up thing to hear, but
It's the
it's
truth.
true.
Yes. And I'll tell you this. This is how you can ensure yourself you're on the right path. You make that change. You do it for a month, maybe 3 months, and you still want to go back to your old self. Well, walk down that path. You're going to see the same people doing the same shit. Nothing different about them, but you. That's when you can come to
And
reality.
and if they're happy, great. But if you're not, that's a problem. I
Right.
know for certain, I can tell you right now that there are people from my past who they are doing the same thing this weekend that they did 10 years ago. And that's okay. But if you're complaining, shut the fuck up. You don't get to. You don't get to complain and not be willing to do the work. You just don't. Because if you sit around and you complain all day and you're not willing to do the work, you're
Yeah.
spinning. You're a hamster on a wheel. Do something. Do something.
Hell yeah. Fucking Michael. I like that. What can you leave our audience with that I haven't already asked you?
Yeah, man. Look, I think at the end of the day, I'll give you something really practical here.
Please.
People right now are always talking about mindset. It is the fucking buzzword of the decade,
Mm,
but nobody tells you what mindset means. So I'm going to tell you what it means. This is
beautiful.
really important. This is everything. Mindset is this: what you think becomes what you speak become your actions, and your actions become your reality. If
Well
you
put.
want to create change in your life, you have to change the way you're talking to yourself. If you're saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not capable enough, I'm a loser, I suck, you are going to act that way, and your life will reflect that. But if you change that narrative into the scope of the frame of what I'm about to give you, and you convince yourself of this until it fucking becomes true, I promise you, on a long enough timeline, your life will be everything you ever want. And it starts with this: I am the kind of person who is kind to myself. I am the kind of person who is kind to myself. And you're probably thinking to yourself, man, this guy's been so intense the whole time.
Mm-mm.
Kindness is
Mm.
everything. It's one of my
Yes.
values. Why? Because when you act through the frame of kindness, you act as a kind person. When you think to yourself, I'm the kind of person who's kind to myself, your action will reflect that, because what is a kind person going to do? They're going to challenge themselves. They're going to push themselves. They're going to go and do the hard thing, the uncomfortable thing, the difficult thing to create change. And on a long enough timeline, their life will be different than it is today. But you're saying shit to yourself right now that if you said to me would get you punched in the face or arrested. And you're wondering why you're not successful. Change the way you mindset is this: what you think becomes what you speak becomes your actions, and your actions become your reality.
Well put. Well put. So, how can our listeners get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm everywhere on social media at Michael Unbroken. And you can listen to the Think Unbroken podcast. The Think Unbroken podcast, it's on every single platform.
Excellent. I'll be sure to link all that in the show notes. Michael, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, it is my pleasure. Thank you for having me, my friend.
Of course, you take care. Excellent. How'd you like that?
Great, man. Lovely. Thank you for the opportunity to come on. I'm a little fired up today, so
Yeah.
hopefully somebody who needs to hear that today will hear it.
Oh, yeah. You fired me up. Thank you. I needed that.
Yeah, man, you're welcome.
Excellent. Well, I will
Do you
email you the the show once it gets all ready and published. And if you want to share it on your end, fantastic. And I'll do it on my end.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
100%. 100%. You just let me know, and I'll get it out there. Thank you for the opportunity. It literally means the world to me. You're a part of my mission by giving me this space, and I don't have enough words of gratitude to thank you for that, brother.
Well, I really do appreciate that. And if you could use that gratitude and apply it to a review and leave me a Apple Podcast review, that would be beneficial to our show and to our reach.
Yeah, 100% done, brother. I
Excellent.
got you.
Thank you, sir. You take care.
All right, man. You take care. I'll see you soon, my friend.
Yes, sir.